Jiggy cat on a damn killer spree. This is Nagato, and you can't mimic my energy. 100 rounds drawn and me hanging like a centipede.
Yo, what's up everyone, it's me Nagato and welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be jumping back into the PlayStation 3 homebrew scene and taking a look at the latest release of PS3 HEN alongside with the latest revision of hybrid firmware. Just like any of my guides or tutorials I put out on YouTube, any of my downloads and supplemental readings will always be in the description or in a pinned comment. And as always, like I like to do in any of my other videos, I like to always get started on the prerequisites and state all the key information up front so everyone's on the same page when they're updating their PlayStation 3s. And if you guys have any questions or concerns, feel free to comment down below, or you could join the official Team Nagato Discord where you could get further support if you need help setting this up. But with that being all out the way, I just want to kind of give a general rundown on how I'm going to be conducting this video. So there'll basically be two parts embedded in the video, and of course everything will be having timestamps once I edit this out. But for part one, I'm going to showcase on how to install HFW onto your console plus the latest version of HEN. Then I'm just going to list general information and precautions about being on a modified console. Then for part two, I'm just going to showcase on how to install essential homebrew applications such as multiMan, webman, and everything of that nature. So basically on how to install package files or PKG files onto your modded device. But with that being all out the way, if you just want to see the timestamps and get started on part one and part two, and you already have a general idea on how to basically jailbreak your PlayStation 3 and you're just doing this for update purposes, then you could go ahead and skip to these timestamps here. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on the disclaimers and additional information for today. So for today's video, I'll be using my Keck K01 Fat model PlayStation 3 that is currently flashed to 4.87 HFW firmware. Note, for this process, you could use any model PlayStation 3. This means a fat model, slim model, super slim, basically any PlayStation 3, and it doesn't matter for what region. So if you have a US PlayStation 3, a European model, Japanese, it really doesn't matter. HFW and HEN can run on any model PlayStation 3. So essentially, I will have like a picture right here once I probably edit this out, but you can see which all PS3 models will work for this process. Another additional information and disclaimer that I do want to state: as of 6/9/2021, 4.88 is the latest firmware for the PlayStation 3, and that if new firmware is pushed by Sony, make sure to stay on that lowest firmware since Sony can patch any exploits at any time. So for example, if 4.89 was to drop, like, you know, a couple of months or even tomorrow, for example, make sure you always stay on a lower firmware, since you know you could always ensure that you have a modifiable system since that firmware has already been exploited. Another thing that I do want to state as of right now is just some disclaimers about HEN and HFW and CFW. So being on HEN/hybrid firmware is not comparable to custom firmware such as like Rebug, Ferox, or Habib. HEN basically just allows most homebrew applications to run. However, things such as debug applications or certain payloads of stuff and that nature will not run on HEN without like heavy modification. But that's just something I do want to go ahead and state out the way. Last but not least, here is a big major disclaimer, and please, it's very important, so listen out. So while being on HEN, it is important to not enable FSM factory safe mode or install console API, as this will brick or even cause damage to your system. This warning has not been issued just by me, but from the PlayStation 3 exploit team, which has developed PS3 HEN for, you know, the PS3 consoles. With all of that getting out the way with additional information, of course, if you're used to PS3 scene, these are like, you know, things you already know off the back. However, for newcomers, I just like to go ahead and state with that. But last thing, we're going to just talk about everything you need for prerequisites. Anything, of course, will be in the link in the description down below. So you need any PS3 system. Once again, it could be a fat, slim, or super slim. This can be done on 4.88 or lower. So if you're on 4.87, 4.86, you could go ahead and update to 4.88 HFW, which you will need a PUP file for, and then you could be good to go. You're also going to be needing to access the ps3exploit.com site on your PlayStation 3. So be sure you have a good Wi-Fi connection for this process. You also need a PC to download said files. You also need a USB stick that is formatted to FAT32. It can't be exFAT or NTFS, and I'll show you guys in the video on how to successfully format your USB to the proper partition. Also, you need this essential PS3 HEN Homebrew pack. This is something I created for 4.87, but it contains all of the, basically the Swiss Army knife of all the necessary homebrew applications such as multiman, webman, and stuff like that. So instead of going online and finding how to download multiman and webman, I just basically put everything in a zip file so it's easier for you guys to install. Last but not least, we're going to be using OnlineMD5 hash checker to check the hash of the firmware PUP, and this is always something that you need to do anytime you update from your PS3, just so you can ensure that it's the correct download, and you can check the validity of your download itself. With all of that being out the way, I know my intro is long, but we're going to go ahead and get started on the PC side of things as well as the PlayStation 3. Alrighty, assuming that you did follow everything as stated in the intro, we're ready to go and get started on the PC side of things. So first things first, I'm going to show you on how to download all the necessary files onto your desktop so we could transfer that onto your FAT32 USB so we could plug that into the PlayStation 3. First things first, let's go ahead and open up our web browser of choice. In this case, I'm just using Google Chrome, but if you want to use Internet Edge or Firefox, best believe you can use anything that you want to, but in this case, what we're going to do first is go to the first website, which will be in the link in the description down below as well as in the pinned comment. We want to go to PSX Place, and this is where we're going to download the hybrid firmware from. So right now, if we go to mirrors, you can either choose the MediaFire download link, Mega, or SendSpace. In this case, I'm going to be using the Mega link right here, and we're going to just be downloading this. So in this regard, I already had this saved on my PC, so if I go ahead and hit save, it should download pretty quickly. So yeah, it took about like 2 to 3 seconds. In your case, it may take a little longer, but once it's fully downloaded, what we want to do is go ahead and go back to PSX Place, and we want to copy this MD5 hash. This MD5 hash plays a vital role since this is how we're going to check the validity of this download, just to make sure that it's not corrupt before we update our PS3s, so we know we're getting the correct file, and as well we installing hybrid firmware in the proper manner. So right now, let's just go ahead and copy over this by right clicking. Go ahead and hit right click and copy. I already had a notepad out, but all we have to do is hit Control V and copy our MD5 hash here. This is just going to be for us so we could come back once we check the OnlineMD5 hash. First things first, what we want to do now is come back out from here and go into the downloads folder, and what we're going to do is transfer the HFW 4.88 file to our desktop. So this is it right here. I already had both of these files here, but just to start from finish, I'm going to show you guys on how to basically unzip this. You'll need WinRAR for this since this is a .rar file. That will be in the link in the description down below on how to install WinRAR. But just to go for it from here, once you right click, you should get a window pane that will say extraction path and options. All you have to do is hit OK here, and it will extract it to your desktop unless you manually said to go to another directory. In this case, what we're going to do is just check for our folders in here. So if I make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see, within the HFW 4.88 folder, you should see something called PlayStation 3 in all capital letters, update, and PS3.update PUP. What we want to do now is go ahead and minimize the screen, right click, and then open up Google Chrome. And what we're going to do is go to the OnlineMD5 hasher site, which basically that will be also in the link in the description down below. And this is how we're going to check our OnlineMD5 hash for this certain file, so we could check if it's corrupt or not. One thing what we want to do, you can just drag and drop the update file here, and if we go back into our notepad really quickly, we could check the MD5 hashes by if we go into the compare with field here. So let me just hit Control V, and our MD5 hashes should match up. So if I maximize the screen really quick, you should see a green check. If you get an X, please go ahead and re-download this. Maybe something happened when you were downloading, or you just got the wrong file from somewhere else. That's why I advised you at first to go to the PSX Place website, so you could make sure you're downloading this from the right place, and you may not brick your system in any shape or form. But once you did check PSX Plus, excuse me, not PSX Place, but once you did check the MD5 online hash checker, what we want to do is go ahead and plug in our USB, and we're going to get it formatted to FAT32. So Right now, if I go back to here and if I open up my file manager right here, you can see here the one that is labeled called PlayStation 3 debug with the letter H. If I hit right click over this properties, this is the USB drive that I'm using today. Note, as you see here, I'm already on FAT32, but if you notice, if you have a 64 gigabyte drive like I do and you try to reformat within the Windows 10 file partition, so if I go right here and try to go to format, and then if I go here, you notice that I don't have FAT32. The reason behind this is if you have a 32 gigabyte file size or higher HDD or USB, Windows really doesn't like to convert to FAT32. So basically we will need to use an external program, which I'll show you guys in a second if you have something like this. So if you're using something like a 8 gigabyte drive or 32 gigabyte drive or 16 gigabyte, basically you should be fine to have the FAT32 option here. But just following along with this process, you can use a GUI formatter tool, and I'll show you guys that in a second on how to format your thing to FAT32. So one thing what we're going to do is just X this out really quick, go back into our web browser choice. We want to go to this website here called ridgecrop.com UK and GUI format. We're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, and this is how the GUI tool looks like. We're going to go and use the x64 build of GUI format tool. I already had another version on my PC, so what I'm going to do is go to my downloads folder, go to GUI format. I'm just going to drag it over to my desktop. It does require you to run this as administrator, so I'm just going to right click really quick, run as administrator. You probably won't see my screen, but just go ahead and hit yes once you see the user account control panel. And then you should see the FAT32 actual application here. One thing I do want to state, please make sure to check your drive letters, and you won't accidentally format your drive that is for Windows 10 or any external HD devices. So in this case, what I'm trying to say here, if I go into my file pane, you can see here I have my 8 terabyte drive, which is the letter F. My local C drive, which is for my computer, is here, and H is the one that I'm having here. Yours may be a different letter, but I know this USB is what I'm using for this process. So what now, just make sure you have the correct select drive. So in my case, it's letter H. Allocation unit size, it really doesn't matter. I'm just going to leave this as default. Volume label is just the name of this. So usually I name mine PS3 debug if I'm like on CFW or HEN. In this case, I'm just going to leave it as debug. Make sure you have the quick format option toggled on, and then once you have that, go ahead and hit start. Once again, anytime you reformat your drive, please go ahead and back up your data. So if you have anything important like pictures, important school files, or whatever thing of that nature, make sure to back it up to like the cloud or to your desktop for the main time being, because anytime you reformat your hard drive, and this goes for basically any devices, you'll lose all your data. So in this case, I'm just going to hit OK. If you get this error, sometimes what I notice as well, if you just unplug your PC, or excuse me, not unplug your PC, but if you unplug your USB and plug it back in, and then if you run Task Manager, so in this case, if you just type in Task Manager on your PC, and if you scroll down to Windows Explorer and restart, your screen will go black for a second, and then if you hit start once again, everything should format. I don't know, that's a little bug that I've been noticing as well. If it just starts for you, that's perfectly fine, but I notice sometimes when I format this particular hard drive, it comes up with that error. But once it's fully done, we should be able to format this drive and see that it's on FAT32. So right now, what we're going to do is go into File Explorer, and we're going to go into PS3 debug or whatever your thing name is. And you can see here that mine is on FAT32. So once again, what we need to do now is open up the root of our USB drive, and we're going to be transferring over the HFW file here. So if I go here, we're going to take the PS3 folder and drag it to the root of this folder. It shouldn't take too long. This is a USB 2.0 drive, so it may take a little second, but what we're going to do in the meantime while that is transferring over, let me just minimize the screen out right here. Let's go back to Google Chrome, And we're going to download the essential PS3 HEN Homebrew Nagato pack. And this is something where I have basically all of the essential homebrews, such as like multiMan, webman, I think prep NTFS. And this is something that I made for 4.87 firmware. So all we got to do is just download that. It's only 70 megabytes, so it shouldn't take too long. And I think, yeah, so everything transferred over to the USB. So right now, what we're going to do is go to downloads, go to the essential PS3 HEN Homebrew pack. We're just going to extract this the same way as we did. Of course, you need Firmware for this process. So right now we're going to hit extract files. Okay, that's going to put it to the desktop. And right here, if we go to essential PS3 HEN Homebrew Nagato pack files, if we go here, I left a little txt readme, so this just, you know, states on how to install package files if you're already on HEN. And I'm just, for this video, I'm going to go through the whole, you know, steps on how to basically install package files onto your system. But this is just kind of giving a little overview of which application, you know, what it does, and basically if it's a file manager, prep NTFS, and like what's the general purpose of it. So I won't really read too much stuff since I'm trying to make this video a little bit quicker. But what we're going to do is drag all of our PKG files to the root of our USB. So once we're on HEN HFW, we're going to go ahead and have all those PKGs installed. So basically right now, once we have everything fully finished, we're going to transfer over to the PlayStation 3, disable our Wi-Fi, get everything set up on the HEN side of things, as well as installing hybrid firmware, and then we're good to go. So in this case, just to, you know, double check to make sure our OnlineMD5 hashes check once again, let's open up our Notepad++ file, hit copy. And we're going to go back into OnlineMD5 hash checker. I'm just going to relaunch the site. This is optional, but if you want to make 100% sure that your file is not corrupt while transferring over to the PlayStation, or excuse me, to the PS3's USB, we're going to go here and just check the file once again. Once this file is fully, you know, is checked out through OnlineMD5 hash checker, we're going to go and safely eject out this USB so we won't run into any corrupt files. Plug it into the rightmost USB port on our PlayStation 3 and get everything set up. So just waiting for that purpose or to be done. So all right, everything checked out fine. What we can do now is just exit out Google Chrome, and right here I'm going to hit show hidden icons, or if you have the icon here, we want to go ahead and safely remove hardware and eject media. Make sure you ejecting the right one, and if you have any external hard drives, make sure you're doing the correct one. So in this case, mine's name is PS3 debug. I'm just going to eject the cruiser blade, and you should get a little notification window saying that it's safe to remove the hardware. Right now, let's go to the PlayStation 3 and get everything set up on that side of things. Alrighty, assuming that you did follow everything on the PC side of things, we're going to go ahead and set up the PlayStation 3. So once your PS3 is turned on, what we're going to do is go ahead and launch into any user. In this case, I'm just going to launch into this user right here. As you can see, I am on a lower version of HEN. So I was on 4.87. So if I just showcase to you guys really quickly, if I go into my system settings, scroll all the way down to system information, you can see that I am on 4.87. but what we're going to do is go ahead and make sure that we're on 4.88 for this thing. So right now, what we're going to do first is to make sure you have no disk in your PS3. So right now I'm not near my PS3, but what I'm going to do is just hit the button. You probably won't hear it, but just make sure you have no disk in your PS3. So I already checked just right now. Next thing, what we're going to do is make sure that you have your USB into the rightmost USB port on your device. So if you have a 4 USB port PlayStation 3, like the original 20 gigabyte models and 60 gigabyte models, make sure it's nearest to the Blu-ray drive, and I will have probably like a picture once I edit this out. Once you verify that you don't have a disk in, you got your USB into the rightmost USB port closest to the Blu-ray drive, what we're going to do is just turn off our internet connection, since we don't want to accidentally update from the latest firmware from Sony servers. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and disable the internet connection, and I'm going to scroll all the way up, and we're going to go to system update via storage media. And if you did everything right, you should see the screen right here, which will state the following update data is for 4.88.1 HFW, which stands for hybrid and exploitable. So all we're going to do is hit X and hit OK. And if you're used to reinstalling HEN, this is totally, you know, simple. Or if you're used to installing updates on the USB, it's pretty much the same thing. So go ahead and hit right on your controller, and to accept this user agreement, just hit accept. Right now, what I'm going to do is, you could turn off the system automatically after you update. In this case, I'm not going to do that, but what I'm going to do is just hit start, and I'm going to let my system do its thing. So right now it's pretty much going by fast, which is good. It shouldn't take too long, to be honest, because 4.87 and 4.88 didn't have any too much changes, I believe, when I was reading stuff on PSX Plays. But right now my screen went black. It's going to take me to the PS3 boot mode menu, and then from there you just have to accept the terms of services so it can install. So this is what I'm talking about here. So we're at the system update page right now, and just waiting for it to verify the update data. So it's basically transferring the update data to the PlayStation 3. Make sure not to hit cancel and to turn on your controller. So right now it is doing its thing. It will take probably a little while to load, but what I'm going to do probably here is not cut the video, because I want to showcase the full process of this. So I'll probably, once I edit this out, will have a little timestamp right here, or within YouTube, excuse me, I could create a timestamp so you could just skip this process. But I'm gonna go ahead and mute my audio from here, and then once the PlayStation 3 has fully installed the HFW, what we're gonna do is go ahead into the internet web browser, install ps3exploit.com, and then we're going to install PlayStation 3 HEN. So I'll meet you guys for that process. Alrighty, as of right now, my PlayStation 3 has successfully updated to the latest update, which is 4.88 HFW. What we need to do now is just launch into our user account, so that's what I'm doing here. And we need to verify some things before we get into the PS3 installation on the internet web browser via with PS3 HEN. First things first, as you notice, if you looked early back in the video, or if you been watching the video, you notice that I was on 4.87 firmware, or excuse me, HFW, and I already had the HEN enabler here. Don't worry, we're going to get it back if you're on a lower HFW firmware. But what we're going to do now is just verify some things. So in this case, we need to go ahead and enable back our internet. So yours will be disabled. If you did everything I stated in the last section of this video, go ahead and re-enable it back, since we're going to need to be connecting back to the internet. Second thing, let's just verify that we're on 4.88. So we're going to go to system settings. We are going to go scroll all the way down to system information, and you should see that your system software version is 4.88. Once you have that, you're good to go, and we're going to go ahead and get started on the internet web browser. So first things first, let's scroll all the way to the network on section on your XMB. Then we're going to go to the third tab, which is internet browser. Go ahead and hit X. And we're going to be messing with some tools and configurations on this web page. So right now, what we're going to do is hit triangle. We're going to go into tools, and we're going to be messing with some settings in here. The first setting we're going to be messing with is the one that says confirm browser close, and we're going to toggle this to off. So right now, if your thing is on, just make sure and hit X and toggle it to off. Then what we're going to do for the second option here is hit triangle again, go into tools, go into home page, and if you have something called use current, you want to make sure that you choose the first option and use blank, and you want to hit OK. Once you have that, you want to go back into the tools pane once again. You want to go into delete cookies, so scroll all the way down to delete cookies. Just go ahead and hit yes where it says all cookies will be deleted, so hit X for that. Go into triangle once again for this process. We want to go into delete search history and hit yes again. Then you want to go into tools, delete cache, so scroll all the way down. We're deleting our cache memory from the web browser. And the last thing what we need to do is delete the authentication information. So once you deleted all of those options, what we need to do is just back out from the internet web browser, go into the internet browser again, and we're going to be loading the ps3exploit.com page. So right now we're going to hit triangle, search, and I'm going to type in PS3 exploit. So I already had it here in my search history, but I'll just sort of type it out. We're going to go ahead and hit start, and it should pop up Google, and we're going to be choosing the first option here, so ps3exploit.com, and it's going to take us to the web page. So right now, this is how the web page should look for you. We're going to go and launch the PS3 HEN option here. So let me go ahead and prompt my screen up so I can see this, since I'm viewing this on my computer. We're going to go into HEN installer enabler. You can use the alternate version if you want, but we're going to just use the first version for this process. So HEN installer enabler, and we're going to launch this page. So right now, as you can see, it should be sending a file over from the servers to my PS3. So it's downloading the PS3 hen.p3t, or excuse me, p3t file, if I could talk today. And once that is downloaded, you should get a download complete. Hit circle. Next thing what you want to do is initialize HEN installer. Note, sometimes HEN may have an issue, so you may have to reset your browser, turn off your PC, or excuse me, not your PC, but your PlayStation 3. But right now, I'm trying to initialize HEN. So right now, it's doing everything it needs to do to basically get the exploit ready to go. So it will take some time. It may error, but no worries. So I'm just waiting for it to do its thing. It could take a little second here. So it's at 15%. Hopefully it will go a little faster, but I will just have this page open. And once it should go to 100%, once it's fully initialized, what we want to do is hit the second option here, install HEN. But right now, what you want to do is just leave your device and your controller on standby, and then wait for this process to go. So for right now, I'll basically mute my mic, but I will have this pretty much running right now. But once it's back on the screen, I will, get along with the rest of the part of this guide. Alright, so as of right now, it's at 95%. Hopefully, it will give me the 100%. So right now, here's a common error. It seems that the exploit initialize failed. Right now, what I'm going to do is just minimize out this screen here. I am going to refresh this page and see what it does once again. So right now, I'm just going to overwrite and save. If it causes errors like this, I recommend users to, restart your PlayStation 3, rerun this website, and then everything should work. But in this case, let me try to initialize HEN once again. Note, it can take multiple tries. But what I'm going to do actually is probably cut the video right here, since it does take a little long. But once I showcase on what error, or excuse me, not error, but the success message, then we're going to go on from here. Alright, so after the second try, you should see this message right here, HEN installer initialized successfully. Once you have that, what you want to do is go ahead and hit install HEN. So that's what I'm doing currently right now. Right now, if you see on the right hand corner of the screen, it's enabling the latest version of HEN, which is 3.03, and is downloading the latest signed package. So please just wait for this to download. And then once that is fully downloaded, what we're going to do is turn off our PlayStation 3 and then re-enable back on our PS3, and we should see the HEN and HFW logo at boot. So just waiting for it to do its thing really quickly. So we got about 70 seconds left. But yeah, just for a general consensus, if you have any issues installing HEN, go ahead and just close out the browser, restart that site again, go ahead and turn off your system, disable your Wi-Fi, and then turn it back on. Those are just some little tips and tricks if you have any issues. I remember back in the day, specifically like with 4.85 and like 4.84, HEN was kind of more little wonky in terms of stability, but if you're using like a self-host or anything of that nature, it should install the first try. In this case, since I'm using the official server or web browser to launch this payload, maybe multiple users are doing this at once across the world, so it may take a little more tries in terms of bandwidth. But once it's fully done, this is pretty much the hard part of installing HEN, is just getting the website to do its thing to initialize the payload. Everything else is just installing package files and pretty much going out on your day. So right now we have fully installed HEN, and let me go ahead and just wait for it to install the PKG. Alright, so now it's fully installed. You won't see HEN on your PS3 until you start your system. But what I'm going to do now is basically show you guys on how to system activate your console. Note, this is optional for this process, but if you want to go ahead and follow along, just go and sign in. I do recommend that you use a secondary account, or aka a burner, because if you use your main account, it really is not recommended to system activate. Since I really don't care about getting clapped on this PlayStation 3, what we're going to do is go into account management, go into system activation, PS3, activate PS3, game, activate system, and we're going to activate this console before we turn it off. Alrighty, so let's go to activation complete, and now I'm going to just sign out of PlayStation Network. We're going to go to turn off system, and then I'll meet y'all guys back once HEN has booted up. Alrighty, so as showcased here, you can see that HEN is now initializing on the PlayStation 3. You notice we don't have the old PlayStation 3 boot up logo. So right now, we're just going to go into user 2 really quickly. And we're going to go to and enable HEN. So right now, you should see we have package manager and enable HEN. We're just going to go and launch it by clicking X. So if you're used to installing or initializing HEN, this allows you to basically run Homebrew on an unsigned code on your PlayStation 3. So right now you can see that enabled Webman mod for me, as well as some other things in the background. But what I'm going to do is show you guys on how to install package manager. So you can see here, before we even do that, I already have multiman, webman, and stuff of that nature. But since we already have our USB in, and if you did transfer all of those PKG files and Homebrew I told you from my essentials pack, all we need to do is go into package files, install package files. We want to go into standard root from our storage device, so the third option, and we could just download all of the files here. So if you press any one of these, so in this case I'm just going to install multiman. I'm just going to install this one in case. I'm not going to go through all of the Homebrew since I already have them pre-installed, but I'm just going to showcase to you guys that, you know, everything fully works. So right now my install has been officially completed. If I launch into multiman, I should be able to run Homebrew. One thing I do want to state, don't ever run Homebrew online or you're just risking to get banned from SEN or aka PlayStation Network. So it's always a good thing to, you know, run Homebrew offline essentially. So right now I am going to just accept the terms of multiman. This is a file manager. This is basically the Swiss Army knife for PS3s. Anybody who has a modded PS3 basically has this, and this is like one of my favorite awesome Homebrew tools for the PlayStation 3 especially, since you could do, you know, so many things, add covers to games, launch games from here, transfer files, FTP support, and all of that fun stuff. So right now I am in multiman. But yeah, essentially this is multiman right here. This is me running Homebrew. And this is how essentially you mod your PlayStation 3 on HEN HFW. So if you guys have any questions on how to set HEN up on your system or how to install package files, feel free to, you know, leave a comment down below or join the official Team Nagato Discord for help. With all of that getting out the way, my name is Nagato, and thank you guys for watching. See you guys in the next video. Peace. Hey everyone, it's me, Nagato's Revenge here. Hope you guys did enjoy today's video. With that being out the way as well, I highly do recommend that y'all guys go ahead and follow my social media so you never miss any of the latest hacking guides and tutorials on my channel by subscribing to me and hitting that notification button as well. Is another method on how you will know when I drop my latest content, whether it be for the Vita, PS4, PS3, and such and so forth. As well, if you want to be in the mix of things and you want to join my official community, you can join via the link right now showcased on the screen and join my Discord that way. And if you do want to support my channel in any shape or form, you could become a patron. I will have a card right now. But with all of that getting out the way, hope you guys really did enjoy this video, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Of course, I love the llamas. Nice and silky smooth.